Now let's continue our open call for product innovation of COVID-19. To recap, each product will get 4 minutes to tell their story. We like this first entry because it shows agility when this company, recognizing the struggles its customers were facing, developed products to help them at this time. We also feel that these tools will be necessary for the long haul and gives the company more traction when good times return. Here's Baidi Lee, Vice President Asia Pacific for Magpie, to tell us about what it did.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. Next, please. Next slide, please. All right, so let's set the record straight. Today, we're not discussing this bird that collects shiny things. We are focusing on Magpie Travel, a cloud-based content management system created specifically for the tour activity and attraction sector. Next, please. Magpie was born out of a drive for efficiency. We created this platform to address a fundamental issue in how operators share the content with resellers. Magpie software is a tool that allows operators to manage their content in one place and use it as a single source of truth to distribute to over 100 OTAs and resellers. This was important before COVID, but now more than ever, we have recognized new demand beyond just software. Next slide, please. I was one of those #COVID layoffs. The saddest effect of the COVID has been the massive shrinking of workforces in the travel industry. You see devastating news. I see opportunities. We're not sitting around praying for jobs to come back. We're putting our future in our own hands. We're creating work for ourselves. After all, there's no making without breaking. Next slide, please. So exactly what's breaking? Literally every experienced product that ever existed in 2019 needs to be updated, either to bring in line with the required changes in today's landscape, or because it's not running anymore. This is a monumental task for both operators and resellers. I think the slide was going back to slide 2. We're probably need to. Thank you. The bare bone of remaining teams are expected to achieve more with a lot less resources. And the redundancies make navigating the turbulent times extremely tough. The person you used to call just isn't there anymore. So in times like this, efficiency, expertise, and flexibility of service is of critical importance. So we created a new managed service to help both sides of the businesses. Next slide, please. Introducing Magpie Promotes, where technology meets humanity. Magpie Promotes as hands-on full service management, supported by the power of our technology platform. We brought together a community of industry veterans, solving some of the most pressing problems at both sides of the marketplace is facing. Next slide, please. For operators, we manage every aspect of their distribution effort, from strategizing a customized distribution plan to helping them navigate the confusing contracting and onboarding process. For resellers, we empower them to connect with active operators and ensure quality content to achieve product excellence and differentiate their offerings. So in this case, we become an extension of both teams at every step of the journey. Next slide, please. So why does it work, you might ask? So the answers are really simple. We're enabling businesses to outsource key functions at a time where staffing resource is really precious. No FTE contracts. Operators are free to ramp up or down, depending on their needs. Our customers get access to 100 years of combined experiences and mature OTA relationships. We know the inner workings of resellers, so we can get things done. Last but not least, we're passionate about creating this community and providing a soft landing for many industry colleagues who want to stay in the industry we all love and contribute to travel's reboot, rebuild, and
your
rewrite.
4 minutes are up now, Baidi. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
This next entry addresses an immediate and urgent problem caused by COVID, the scale of cancellations no one in our industry had ever seen before, and the need for automated refunds. We liked it came from someone who is a former travel agent and so understands the inner workings of the tech processes. Please welcome Maxim Savastianov, CEO Travnology, to tell us what he did. Maxim?
Off mute. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Depends where you are. So for those, previous slide, please. Previous. For those who don't know, we're in the business of process automation. And the current situation with the COVID has made us adapt and changed the priorities a little bit, and the relevance has also shifted a little bit. So the refunds and exchanges have always been relevant, but the relevance has escalated a lot due to the situation with the COVID. So please, next slide. Thank you. So what is the problem? The problem we're faced with is that the volumes of refunds and exchanges have become so enormous, both voluntary and involuntary, that the manual processing that it requires at the moment has really led to the lack of resource at the travel agencies. They're not keeping up with this, and the risk of making an error has also created that the risk of receiving ADM because of that has created another problem. So the refunds and exchanges, they can be voluntary, can be involuntary, depending where they come from, whether they come from the airline or whether they come from the consumer, which would be voluntary. Next slide, please. And so what are the challenges? The challenges to get this resolved is that the number one challenge, of course, is that all the data that is provided by the airlines is unstructured, and which prevents anyone from automating the process. The changes are driven both by the consumer and the airline, so the process are a little bit different. So you have to handle them differently as well, whether it's the consumer requesting the change or the refund, or whether it's the airline that makes you make that change or accept it or not accept it. The challenge as well is that the only tool we have to work with is the legacy GDS platforms. It's the main GDSs the functionality is relatively limited, and it's all about doing it by hand. Also, the functionality provided by the GDSs is relatively fragmented, meaning that it might work for some airlines in some GDSs on some markets, might not work in other markets and other airlines and other GDSs. So we cannot really cover 100% of the market by using the current solutions provided by them. Next slide, please. So what we did here is that we've decided how can we cover 100% of the market. So as long as we can get hold of the ticket by the passenger, we could connect either into the GDS or the ATP code and get that fare rule data, which actually shows you the regulations in terms of the refund and the cancellations. It's all free text. It looks very ugly and it's really hard to understand it, but it's possible to actually read it. Even for the travel agent, it's not that super simple. So what we do, we take that text and then we apply, as we call it, the hocus pocus automation magic to it and convert it into a structured XML data, meaning that all of the conditions and all of the regulations in terms of the refund and the exchanges would be structured, coming in XML data. This, in turn,
30 seconds, Maxim.
Yeah, this will help the agent, the consumer, to actually self-serve themselves to do this accurately and automatically, and also used by the systems to enable all kinds of automation. And will also work in all the GDSs, Amadeus, Sabre, Travelport. Next slide, please. So far, what we've been done is that we've automated the full refund, providing almost 160,000 full refunds. GDS is completely automated, fully automated BSP link applications. Client interface completed, which means that the client will be able to initiate the process on their own. Category 16 rules analyzed already, and the Interpico integration is in progress. So this is the progress so far, and we're aiming to be done by the end of the year with all the other automation that will be done. That's it. Thank you so much. Next slide for the conclusion.
Thank you, Maxim.
Thank you, everyone.
I like your double speed voice. This next startup was launched as a tool for SMEs to manage their travel early this year. Then COVID happened. Turning crisis into opportunity, it quickly developed a product that would help travelers make sense of travel restrictions. The timely product has given the new company good mileage at a time when it's trying to build customer awareness for its app. Here's Fabian Ng of TrueTrip to tell us how it developed COVID entry check-in.
Hi everyone, I'm Fabian. So how many of you plan to take an international trip next year? And how many of you know how and when you can do so safely and easily? Not too sure? That's the problem everyone is facing. Right? Planning a trip now is very difficult, and there's no one place to find all of this information. So that's why we've built two things. Next slide, please. Right, the first, TrueTrip, and the second, COVID entry check. TrueTrip is a corporate travel platform which takes care of the end-to-end trip experience and helps companies keep employees safe and productive on work trips. For COVID entry check, in a single click, it saves you hours of research and tells you exactly and when can you travel from A to B. Next slide, please. So I love to travel, but there's almost no freedom right now to go anywhere. So last year, this time, with a Singaporean passport, I have access to over 190 countries hassle-free. But this year, that number is down to just 11. And next slide, please. And only 1% of the global population can travel easily, while everyone else, which is 99%, is pretty much stuck at home. Next slide, please. So I guess the bottom line is travel is complex. And if we really want people to start traveling when it's safe to do so, we cannot create a wall of complexity. Next, please. Right, after getting some customer feedback, we eventually realized that we absolutely needed to build something like COVID entry check. And this was based off of three main things. Right, the first being it has routes. The second, we want it to be focused on routes by constantly updating travel status and entry requirements. Last, and this means to cover green lanes and travel bubbles extensively. By doing so, we want to help make essential travel easy for business travel. So how did we do that? What we did was we collected a lot of raw data from over 600 government websites and turning it into something that's useful and meaningful to customers. Next, please. So right now, we're covering almost 250 countries, 65,000 routes, 1,200 green lanes, and we're very proud to say that we have been very quick to respond to issues and feedback so that we can improve and optimize. So we've put all of this together into one single API on TrueTrip, and this helps our customers make better travel decisions along the way. And the good news is, this API, you can have access to it too. Right? So how might this API help, right? Why is it so powerful? The first point is, if you integrate it to booking, you know exactly when a route is open, restricted, or banned before you even search for any flight. Also, next slide, please. Also, without any heavy lifting on your end, you'll be able to get timely alerts, right? Without any of the hard work, and you'll get updated with the latest travel restrictions. So it feels easy. Next, please. Also, you'll get a peace of mind when you plan for a trip, right? With a step-by-step format of our data, you'll know what to expect before, during, and after a trip. So you'll get no surprises. Next slide, please. So looking back, we've got a few learnings to share, which is quite interesting, right? The first being travel intent is regional, with 10 routes covering 80% of that intent. Next, please. Also, we realized that government bodies are also, taking a regional approach when they're setting up their green lanes, meaning if you're closer to a certain country, it's more likely you'll get access. Next, please. Right. The last point being, interest in travel is largely from the service industry, but that's also not discounting education, technology, industrial, and retail sectors. That's all. Next slide, please. So thank you very much. If you need more information and access to our COVID entry API, please contact us at support@truetrip.co.
All right. All right. Thank you, Fabian.
Thank you
Has
very
been
much.
active while our presentations were going. And now we have TrueTrip and Magpie actually tied for first place. Well, yeah, they have the same number of votes. So keep those votes coming. I think maybe we'll keep it open for a short while more.